In this video, we are recapping the Gaylord, Michigan tornado as well as covering our efforts to help the community via the Y'all Squad. After that, non-stop severe weather is in the forecast as the Storm Prediction Center has highlighted risk areas for today, tomorrow, Sunday, and Monday. And then, of course, we're going to take a look at your Memorial Day forecast. Welcome back, y'all. Ryan Hall here with the weather forecast. Some of you guys have been asking why I didn't cover the Gaylord, Michigan tornado in the last video. Well, this is because we actually sent someone out there to try to find ways we can help with the Y'all Squad Fund. And I just wanted to wait until we were closer to being finished. For those of you who may not know, on the afternoon of May 20th, a rogue supercell in north central Michigan surprisingly spawned a large and dangerous tornado in marginal conditions. This thing ran right directly into the town of Gaylord, Michigan around 3:45 p.m. Eastern Time. The tornado had a maximum wind speed of 150 miles per hour and was 200 yards in width. The National Weather Service has determined that the Gaylord tornado was an EF3, making it the first EF3 or higher tornado in the state since 2012. Unfortunately, over 40 were injured and 2 people lost their lives. We had freelance journalist Evan Freiberger on the ground just a few days later, helping with the cleanup and reaching out to the locals to hear their stories.
My boys were right under here, and then a tree came in on us, and we were able to just kind of sit here for a minute and came out to here. Otherwise, we couldn't really move. Next thing you know, it was gone. I was trying to get out. Everything was blocked.
Of course, we will have much more on this in the coming weeks, but for now, we have to talk about the future weather, so let's get right into that. All right, let's start off and look at the Storm Prediction Center's outlook for today. We got 2 slight risk areas. One of them's over here on the East Coast. This goes from South Carolina through North Carolina into Virginia and all the way up into Maryland, Delaware, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania, and just a little bitty tiny bit of New York. But that's not all. We also have a slight risk of severe weather up here in Wyoming, Montana, North Dakota, and South Dakota, and we'll talk more about this here in a minute. Let's take a look at what the radar could look like as we go into the future. You can keep up with the time in Eastern Time above my head here throughout the entire video. Starting off at 2 p.m. today, and the storms are already causing problems over here around Richmond, down towards Raleigh and Fayetteville in North Carolina, and then of course we got a squall line coming through Baltimore, and this is heading up towards Philadelphia and Trenton. Okay, let me put this into motion. By 5 p.m. this stuff is going to be moving into New York City, all the way up there into upstate New York. Some heavy rain, some clashes of thunder, and all that good stuff. Of course, some of the stronger storms will be down here exiting the Myrtle Beach area, moving through Rocky Point, and of course all the way up into Petersburg and Richmond. Now, the further south we go here, there's a lot of moisture in the air, all the way up to Richmond and all the way down to Wilmington. We could see some urban flooding and small stream flooding. So if you live in a flood prone area, be ready for that. But the main threat with the severe weather today is going to be the straight line damaging winds. And look, we have a secondary line coming through Northern Virginia into the Washington, D.C. area around 9 p.m. Look at this, maybe a 1-2 punch for the Washington, Baltimore area. But it does look like this is going to be dying out a little bit as it goes through the metro, and it won't be a problem at all once we get into the midnight time period tonight. That actually starts out as an interesting little system over here right underneath the low pressure center in eastern Kentucky into southern Ohio and portions of West Virginia. That could cause some small hail and some strong winds over here, as well as that culminates into the big squall line as it moves off to the east. So it's going to be a rainy and stormy day for a lot of the East Coast. The further south you go, remember right in here, that's where we expect most of the severe weather. Straight line damaging winds are the main threat, but we can't roll out an isolated tornado or two, but that threat is very small. Now, zooming into the west over here, we got a severe thunderstorm outlook for portions of Montana and Wyoming, but we also have a critical fire risk today near Las Vegas, Nevada. Okay, so make sure that you are prepared for the dry conditions and the winds down there, and then the wet conditions and the winds are going to be the problem up here from Oregon into Idaho, all the way into Montana, Wyoming, and portions of South Dakota and North Dakota. That's why we have that slight risk of severe weather today. Starting at 4 p.m. we got our storm south and east of Billings. That's going to ride the Wyoming-Montana border into South Dakota and North Dakota. And once again, straight line damaging winds and some hail. That's going to be the main threat. But look at this big swirly boy coming onto shore here. All of this is a part of what we're going to be focusing on for the rest of this video and probably through the weekend. We have a rapidly increasing severe weather situation on our hands for the high plains, and it's all being fueled by this storm system right here. here, okay? And we're going to talk about that in depth right now. But first, we have to shout out today's sponsor, Vessi 100% waterproof sneakers. In addition to being incredibly stylish, Vessi shoes are 100% waterproof, keeping your feet dry after every thunderstorm. All Vessis are made from comfortable, breathable Dymatex material that allows you to stay cool in the summer and warm in the winter. And the knitting process used to craft your Vessis ensures that all Vessi shoes are sustainably made. The antibacterial insole with cloud-like cushioning keeps things fresh, while also providing comfortable support for your feet during everyday activities. There is no other shoe brand that I trust to keep my toes dry more than Vessi, especially as a weather enthusiast. And I know the rest of the Y'all Squad's gonna love them just as much as I do. So head on over to the link down below to grab some Vessis of your own. And make sure you use the promo code Ryan Hall for $25 off each pair you order. You heard that right. Use the code Ryan Hall at Vessi.com to get 25 bucks off every pair of Vessi sneakers that you buy. You gotta do it. And we gotta get back into the video. All right, moving right along. As you can see, we've got a slight risk of severe weather tomorrow in Nebraska and South Dakota. And that leads us to our enhanced risk, our day 3 enhanced risk on Sunday, which looks very interesting. Let's take a look at the synoptic pattern as we look at those 500 millibar wind speeds and heights. You can see our little bit of a trough over here that's causing our severe weather on the East Coast. Let's move this forward. What happens as we get into Saturday? A large ridge forms here. This is going to bring up the heat and the humidity for everybody underneath that. And then, of course, we got some cooler, drier air coming up from the south or from the north and the west. This is creating a new trough here that's going to develop as we go into Sunday. And you can see here we have our big wall. And, of course, we have all of our tomatoes, all of our ingredients for severe weather down here in the Gulf of Mexico, just flinging themselves up here into that wall, splattering and creating mater juice, which we then can convert into nader juice. And this is one of the first instances of this that I've seen in a while where it actually looks like it might be pretty concerning. So Sunday looks interesting. Also Monday and Tuesday, look at that. It's going to be high plains insanity up here as we go all the way into the early portion of next week. We're mostly focused on Sunday right now, and you can see all that nader juice just piling up there. Remember guys, nader juice is just the ingredients in the atmosphere that's necessary for tornadoes to form. And in situations like this, I personally look really hard at the lower level jet stream at the 850 millibar level, and things are really cranking down here near 60 knots from Oklahoma all the way up into portions of Minnesota. That's some spicy nader juice. So another thing we can look at is the CAPE, or the convective available potential energy, or the cake. Remember, technically storms have to eat this stuff in order to grow, and there's lots of cake out there as you can see on Saturday around 8 p.m. But the further south you go, even though we've got close to 6,000 joules per kilogram of cake down here, it can't be eaten, okay? Because we have a warm layer of air in the atmosphere. There's a lid over top of it. Once again, imagine a cleared cake dish with a cake inside of it, but you can't get the lid off. That's how the storms feel down here. And that's why we have that slight risk of severe weather. Now let's go into Sunday. Even more CAPE making its way further north, getting closer to the area where we're actually going to see convection. But remember, down here in Oklahoma and Kansas, there's a cap on the atmosphere. We don't have to worry about it down there. It's only a problem in the northern extent, and that's where we're going to see some major thunderstorms. Let's take a look at the instantaneous flash rate. This shows us density of lightning strikes, and we can assume that where there are dense areas of lightning, there are storms. Bada bing, bada boom, there you go. We got big storms over here in Nebraska and South Dakota, right where that slight risk is on Saturday. But it does look like this is going to end up being a nocturnal threat as well as we go into the midnight time frame all the way into the early morning hours on Sunday. We're going to have some leftover storms over here, and we might still have a tornado threat even then, so make sure you're prepared for that. All that cake floats up to the north, and it's able to be eaten by these storms up here, and we're seeing a huge area of very strong storms in Nebraska, South Dakota, Minnesota, northwestern portions of Iowa. I am concerned about this day as far as straight line damaging winds go, and also if we see supercells, naders, or tornadoes. One of the things that we're concerned about here is that a big squall line of storms forms, becomes outflow dominant, and races east and produces widespread damaging winds. This is the kind of storm system that certainly can produce hurricane force winds throughout a large area as it moves off to the east. All hazards are going to be possible from Saturday into Sunday as we watch these storms develop over the high plains. And then check it out, if we go even further into the future, this is going to continue to be a thing all the way through Tuesday and Wednesday as we continue to see high plains insanity up here. It's going to be a storm chaser's dream, really. I might actually make a trip up there. But look at this, as we go into Monday, May 30th, this might actually impact your Memorial Day plans up there in the plains. So let's go ahead and get into our Memorial Day forecast. All right, let's take a look at that Memorial Day forecast for you, starting off with the temperatures because that's the most important part, right? Well, it's going to be hot out there from Texas all the way up into portions of the Midwest, the upper Midwest, the Ohio Valley, and the East Coast, as a lot of us are in the 80s and 90s, and a lot of Texas is 100 degrees and above. It's going to be hot and humid underneath that ridge we were talking about, and that's going to impact pretty much everybody east of the Rocky Mountains. But for the most part, as far as temperatures go, a lot of us are near normal, unless you're in Nevada or Idaho where you're much below normal, or up here in the Great Lakes regions where we're going to be much above normal. Another thing to think about is the humidity. In combination with the temperatures is going to make it feel even hotter. We've got dew points in the 60s and 70s all the way up into Canada and through a lot of the East Coast, especially right here next to the ocean, Florida, Alabama, Georgia. You guys are going to be absolutely steamy. A lot of that moisture is running up against a dry line here, and this is where we could see some big storms on Memorial Day, maybe in northern Kansas up through Nebraska, and then of course are in and around this swirly area right here as that low pressure system goes off to the north and east. Now, even though we've got very moist air over here, you can see that there's very dry air on the backside from California all the way over into the panhandle of Texas. This dry air in combination with the very strong winds getting sucked into this low pressure system is going to increase the fire risk once again in this area. Low relative humidity and little to no rain is going to produce another critical fire risk over here on Memorial Day. So no fireworks, and let's try not to grill out, okay? I know it's not your fault. You didn't make the air dry, but we don't want to make the firefighters' jobs harder now, do we? And then, of course, looking at the instantaneous flash rate, trying to track where those storms are once again. Starting at 2 a.m. on Memorial Day, we're going to have big storms in Minnesota all the way down through Nebraska. New, bigger storms are going to form, especially in Kansas, Iowa, all the way up into Minnesota and North Dakota. You're not going to need fireworks, okay? The atmosphere is going to provide the fireworks for you as we have a nocturnal severe weather threat down here. And of course, the Storm Prediction Center already has a day 4 30% risk for you guys. Big time thunder boomers on Memorial Day up here, so make sure you are prepared for that. A huge shout out to our members over here. Thank you so much for being a huge part of the channel. Guys, make sure you subscribe and turn notifications on. I've got a feeling that we're going to have to do a live stream on Sunday and maybe even Monday as this big system rolls through the high plains. Of course, we're going to have our storm chasers out there and our new storm seekers. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go look at my Twitter. All right, that's all I got for you. I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.